talk to the audience that you're trying to go after, because there's just a lot that you can learn from them.
Today, I'm speaking with Kristen D'Arcy, CMO of True Religion, a clothing brand known for its high-quality denim and distinctive stitching. How do you move fast enough as marketers to sort of meet the moment before the moment is gone?
It's making sure that we really have our ear to the ground. We are constantly being sort of kept abreast of new opportunities, sometimes that are brought to us first. We're almost a little mini newsroom, creating new moments that drive consideration, of course, awareness among a new audience, and ultimately that new customer activation.
How does that impact from design to product to marketing?
It gives us more opportunities to story tell. Who could bring this incredible product to life in an authentic and unique way? And so we picked.
Welcome to Top CMO. I'm chatting with Kristen D'Arcy, Chief Marketing Officer at True Religion. And Kristen, let's maybe start out. You're new to the True Religion brand, but True Religion has roots of its, heyday, mid-2000s. Everyone was wearing them, a lot of A-list celebrities, $300 pair of jeans. One of the brands that was like the really hot brands. There were leaner times. There was in kind of the 2010s, especially the end of that decade, there was a couple bankruptcies. The brand had to be reinvented. So take us through right now, where is the True Religion brand right now? For those familiar and remember the horseshoe shapes and the Buddha icons, where is the brand now?
Yeah, the brand has always been around. You mentioned sort of years and years ago, when we look at the timeline of the past, and we've been around for 22 years, we've always been very, very closely connected with music, doing a lot of research about the brand before I joined. The number of different rap and hip hop songs that we were mentioned in is pretty truly incredible, both back then and even recently. Glorilla dropped a new track with Megan Thee Stallion, and True Religion is included in there, and that was just dropped about a month ago. So it's nice to see that consistency and the resonating of the brand with urban culture. Where are we now? I think, we've democratized the brand a bit with regard to price point. So it is a little bit more accessible for that urban casual consumer. And we know a lot about them, frankly. So they're, primarily Black and Hispanic, followed by Caucasian and then Asian. They look at, rap and hip hop music for style cues among those musicians. Same thing with athletes. So our audience is definitely into basketball and football, among other sports. And the business right now still leans, more towards men versus women, but we're confident based on new leadership within the women's division, and frankly, just a lot of great product development there, that the business will be 50-50 in the future.
Well, and it's interesting because I think, in understanding your customer, one of the foundations of marketing, of course, when I read about the kind of the turnaround around the kind of 2020s, 2021s, it started with everything I've read about True Religion kind of really listening to its customer, and the customer almost more like maybe a better term is like co-creating with the customer, indicating where things should go. And I know things in your recent history, such as, it sort of True Religion has sort of trademark kind of thick stitching, but maybe there's colors that need to come out because they're going to match something else that's going to match, a new sneaker line that came out that a lot of your customers or now your co-creators want to wear, and they want it to match together. Could we have this color? Or, 16 or 17-year-old kids are wearing this at school, but it's maybe not apparel. Maybe it's an accessory. Maybe it's something else. So talk about now how you have to listen and sort of co-create more than before, more than saying we're the hot stuff. Maybe back in the 2000s, you could say follow our trend. Now you're listening more. Is that correct?
We definitely are. And, I can give a couple of examples sort of in the past here where we've listened and then brought to life new collections. And then I can also talk about what we're doing go forward. So in the past, we had a co-creator program where we would partner with people who not only loved the brand, but were inspirational artists themselves. So we launched a collection with Blue Boy. That was in January of this year. Saw a ton of excitement within the first 24 hours. It was sold through about 60% of the collection, which is phenomenal. So we took from Blue Boy a lot of the ideas that he had, his signature artwork, and fused that in with ours. The second was, Chief Keef is I'm from Chicago, a Chicago rapper who had rapped about the brand a couple of years ago, really has a genuine, authentic love for True Religion. We decided to partner with him for a collab a few years ago, and then again in June of this year. And that's where a lot of the ideas that he had around his brand called Bad Weather were brought to life, with both himself and our incredible designers on the men's side. So there's a lot of that creative thinking that's infused from partnerships like that. Then there are things that are happening a little bit more organically almost every day. And that is through a new program that we've just launched called Team True. Team True exists to bring people on board much more frequently and in an always on manner. And so what that looks like right now is 21 different personalities, everything from actors to an UFC fighter to who else do we have in there? Celebrities, rappers, WNBA stars, some NIL athletes. And this group of people exist. Number one, we outfit them so that they can look and feel their best when they're doing their best in whatever area of sport or entertainment that they belong in. But then the second is we're also using them a little bit as partners in a consumer panel. So there we are getting real-time feedback on different partnerships we're considering in the future. They are proactively reaching out, this group, and sending us new design ideas, for example, or new collab opportunities with different faces for us. So it's an incredible, almost real-time focus group. And that also helps allow for really organic, authentic co-creation leaning into this group.
How do you think about the brand now? Because I've had a lot of CMOs on this show who are aspiring to be a lifestyle brand. That's a very trendy thing to be aspiring to be. But I feel like True Religion really, was a denim brand, has become a lifestyle / streetwear brand, not because a bunch of executives, said this is what we're going to become, but because sort of the customer, the audience decided this is what you were, this was the value you provided, and then that eased that transition or that transformation because you just kind of paid attention and had to reinvent the brand. Is that correct? And what advice do you have for other brands that want to become lifestyle brands?
It's correct. I think, we've had an easier time because over the years, as I mentioned, we have always been so closely connected with culture, number one. Number two, we have iconic logos, like you mentioned, the horseshoe, for example, and the Buddha. So you know immediately who the brand is from a recognition standpoint. And then you can cascade the brand into other categories, such as fragrance, accessories. We launched pets this year. My 80-pound rescue dog just so happens to star in the campaign. So it's easy to lean into these other categories when you are so well known, again, for the designs and also being a consistent part of culture.
And how do you sort of remain genuine and authentic? I think one of the things that always happens with hot brands, and I'm talking back in the day, you guys would probably be lumped in with the Juicy Coutures and the Ed Hardys and the ones that they get really, really hot, but they can also flame out fast because it can be seen as, not authentic or not in the moment, or you sort of ride the fad and then you lose the fad. So how do you think about it this time around to think about how you remain authentic with your customers, your audience, how you avoid a rise and a fall as tastes change? There's a little bit of a kind of a retro vibe to that kind of era now that's doing well overall in the industry? How do you make sure that if that fizzles out, that you remain strong?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ben. And I think it's two things. One, from a marketing perspective, it's making sure that we really have our ear to the ground on what's happening. And we do that not only with a really diverse internal marketing team, where good ideas are coming literally from everywhere, but then also, as I mentioned earlier, Team True, and engaging them, and they're doing it proactively as well. They're all very, very closely connected to culture. And again, that might be through music or through sports or through entertainment. And so really making sure that we're listening to them. I think both of those avenues, those teams internally and externally, really help make sure that we feel authentic wherever we're showing up. Let me give you an example of that. We thought NBA All-Star Weekend this year would be a good opportunity for the brand. Rather than just showing up with a step and repeat, which really anybody can do, we decided to lean into the community across Indiana and then specifically in Indianapolis. And we had a great idea that was sort of brought to us and then co-created with a current Team True member, where we decided to partner with the Hoop Bus. The Hoop Bus is a 501c3. They are in affiliation with Venice Ball here in LA. And lots of really great, interesting people that are customers kind of make their way through Venice Ball. So ex-NBA players, current NBA players, and then the Hoop Bus, again, being the philanthropic arm, was really interesting to us. So what we did is we partnered with them. We outfitted the bus. We outfitted a lot of the talent that was on the bus, and it went throughout all of Indiana for the full week before the NBA All-Star Weekend. And the reason to do that was to go and celebrate historic courts throughout Indiana. So one was from the Hoosiers movie, for example. Another one was in the hometown of Larry Bird. And we did content shoots with the Hoop Bus at each one of those locations. The week then culminated with a donation by True Religion for uniforms for a boys and girls basketball team at Crispus Attucks, which is near high school, near Indianapolis. And then we moved into the weekend and really focused on Sunday also being a big community play for the Hoop Bus and for us. We donated and helped create the artwork with Micah Johnson, a former MLB player who was part of all this as well, created artwork and donated back to another high school where we helped refurbish their basketball courts. So that would be an example where it felt authentic. Again, the idea was brought to us and then co-created between a Team True member as well as internal team members. And it was a very different way to celebrate what was happening there. So that's number one on sort of the marketing side of things. And then I think number two is all of this is powered by incredible product that you know and love. Between the logos and the stitching, we create product that is meant to stand out, to make you feel incredible and confident when you walk into a room. And so none of this would be possible if it wasn't for that consistent, really incredible product that, we are fed as a marketing team.
How do you think about sort of your audiences you brought up kind of the women's, the audience of women. And back, as I understand it, back in sort of True Religion's heyday, that was like 60% women. It's less than half now, something I think like 40%. How do you kind of renew a focus on it? I had heard about other efforts where maybe, past owners of the company, there used to be a separate women's design team and a men's design team, and they were merged together. And then they had to be, now more split apart so we could actually have dedicated focus. But how do you think about your audiences, the dedicated focus on them, and how does that flow through to marketing? So you're doing some designs that women are going to get excited about, but the marketing reflects that audience too. I noticed there's new offerings such as like plus size offerings for women that maybe expands the base. How does all of that fit together when you have like an audience that's been important, but maybe underappreciated or not give enough love in recent years? How do you start giving it more love, and how does that impact from design to product to marketing?
Yeah, it's a great question as well. So in 2019, Michael Buckley came back as CEO.
Original founder, or for founder creator. Okay, yes.
Not founder, but
Oh,
he was leading the business a couple of years prior, then left, and then was brought back in 2019
okay, I see.
to really help kind of jumpstart the business again. And as he went through some of the different areas and looked at the opportunities, he knew women's could be, hugely opportunistic for the brand. So he brought in a new leader over women's design about 2 years ago who is innovative and data driven and listens to our customers, frankly. So I think there's been a real shift in momentum with regard to product once Tina Blake joined the team. As a result of her joining, there are new moments from a marketing perspective that enable us to talk to women in a different way. So you mentioned sort of the trends and brands of yesteryear. Y2K is definitely having a moment. We recreated that with marketing. We used she and her team's incredible product and was able to bring that to life and create another moment for the brand. Every year we have a really big push around our anniversary in the fall. We're doing that again this year. So there's just pretty fantastic women's product that celebrates and exaggerates different components of the brand. We decided to sign up a pretty well-known female rap face who has loved the brand for years, couldn't get enough of this product. So she will help bring that campaign to life. So to answer your question very simply, it starts with great product. There's some innovation in there coming out of that design team. We launched something recently called the True Booty Perfector that really does shape and enhance your behind in a totally different way. And so when you have all this great product that's kind of coming down the pipeline, it's pretty easy then to figure out, okay, what is the right way to market it? Whether it's product marketing and really just focusing on why this is so different, why you need it, why you'll feel and look better as a result of it. Or then sometimes we lean into influencers or celebrities to help bring it to life in a different way. But again, all of those people are very carefully selected and have a relationship with the brand. On the women's side, it was pretty phenomenal. Late last year, there was no money exchanging hands whatsoever. And you had Lotto and Ice Spice constantly posting about True Religion, almost as if who loved us better. So there really has been, even on the women's side, a love for the brand. But I think now we're seeing it start to explode based on focus on product and then focus on bringing it to life in the marketing.
And other things that I know when we've chatted before, you've mentioned that are important pillars. Another one is 360-degree holiday campaign. What does that mean? What does it mean to be 360 degrees, and why has that been important recently for the brand? Obviously, key drive period for you during the year.
Great question. So when I joined, the holiday campaign sort of wasn't baked yet. And I thought this is such a great opportunity to come out of the gate as a brand in a season that is highly competitive and cluttered. And so how do you stand for something in order to break through? And we decided that we wanted to stand for the gifting destination for the holiday season, both for your family and friends, but then also for yourself. So the name of the campaign that we fashioned was Style as a Gift. We loved the double entendre of that. And then we really thought hard about who could bring this incredible product, both on the male and female side, to life in an authentic and unique way. And so we picked Quavo and India Love. And what I thought was fascinating is on set, and we had no idea this was true ahead of time. We were on set and Quavo rolled up the sleeve, his sleeve, and showed us a tattoo. And the tattoo said True Religion. And I said, how in the world did you do that for the shoot? And he's like, no.
That's commitment. That's commitment. Yes.
It's commitment, right? He said, no, I did it 15 years ago when I was a kid and teenager and loved this brand. And he said, my friends and I stole a tattoo gun, and we all got True Religion tattoos. And he said, what's so special about this is now I'm coming back full circle. I'm starring in this brand, in this brand campaign. And he said, to have myself here, his mom was on set, and his niece actually did came into the campaign in a couple different scenes. He's like, this is such a full circle moment for me. So that was really special. And I think confirmed that we picked the right person. But when I say 360, if that was the big umbrella on top, and that campaign between India Love and Quavo gave us all of the marquee assets, the reason it was 360 were the layers underneath that. So we then turned on influencer campaigns where everybody was talking about style as a gift. The difference was there was a lot of engaging digital content there where you would bring people in. So for example, we asked all of the influencers, about 100 in total, within the collection, what are 2 items that you would give away to friends or family as a gift? What's the 1 item that you would keep for yourself? So all of that content started bubbling up. I would say those were mid-tier influencers, again, sort of across the realm of fashion, entertainment, music, and sports. And then we turned on the micros and the nanos, also all talking about style as a gift. We then created the first partnership with the NFL. It was with the Rams, a hometown team. That's how we picked them. And they've been great partners to us. But that too was centered around style as a gift. So we decided to outfit the cheer squad. They wore us head to toe on the field. They performed. But then we also had a style as a gift suite where we invited different friends and influencers of the brand to come in and get their gifts, both again for themselves and for the special people in their lives. So no matter what it was, different layers of influencer content or IRL activations, everything was tied back to that single theme, which was style as a gift. And the reason, to answer your last question, the reason that was so important for the brand is that, depending on the week, we saw double and triple digit traffic increases to our e-com site. We saw double-digit traffic increases to our owned stores across the country. And we saw double the business growth by way of sales demand. So it's a recipe that definitely works for us. I think what's interesting, and we've kind of started to fine-tune this, is every season we will have a big campaign in sort of in that vein. So we have Back Like We Never Left. That's our summer campaign that's in market right now. But then underneath that again, and you'll have that consistency, and we'll talk about that for 3 months at a time. But then we also have newness that we pop in order to drive new customer acquisition. That newness might come with a Y2K story like we talked about, or a Chief Keef collab drop that we also discussed, or a Coachella activation. So the way that we think about this marketing is, yes, leaning into this incredible product, but then creating new moments that drive consideration, of course, awareness among a new audience, and ultimately that new customer activation. So the way we think about it to a degree is we're almost a little mini newsroom, looking at the different tools that we have in our toolkit in order to engage with our consumers.
Can you give us a preview of holiday this year? Are you doing a new thing every year, like a new tagline and a new concept every year? What can we expect, or the themes we can expect this year?
It will be a celebration of the season. You will also see some recognizable faces, and it will follow sort of the similar consistent pattern where you will see the tagline brought to life, not just only as part of this marquee campaign, but also with influencers of various sizes. Team True that I mentioned earlier, those people are going to be consistent and persistent with us throughout the holiday season. So you'll see some activations with them, also bringing this concept to life. And we're really excited about it.
Okay, you're being purposefully vague here. I can tell, but
I
I
love
get
you a follow up and give you more.
I get the idea.
As we
Okay,
get
sure.
closer.
And what does it mean to be sort of focus on digital content or digital first marketing? I know that has changed. I mean, and obviously a lot has changed because I think, back in the 2000s, I think e-commerce was probably only, few little mini percent of your overall sales. Now it's a major chunk. So how has that affected things and how you try to deliver this in a digital way?
Yeah, I think it gives us more opportunities to story tell. So, when we get on set, we think about what's going to be incredible behind the scenes content, either that helps us draw out these launches and create really interesting tease, launch, and sustain content. So that's number one. Number two, kind of paired with our media buys that are also all digital first in nature. How do you create, we call it thumb stoppable content? So you're scrolling, and then you stop because you either see one of your favorite stars wearing our logo, or they're saying something really fun and provocative, kind of going back to the behind the scenes, with Quavo and his tattoo, which of course we use that content in paid, owned, and earned channels. So that's sort of how we think about it. But then there's also the layers underneath. So then there's the opportunity to really zoom in and talk about fabric differences and why we're so excited about a certain trend from an editorial perspective, for example. So there's a lot by way of the content capture. And then I think what we're able to do to optimize on the back end. And we're doing that literally all the time. We do a lot of that strategy in-house. We partner with our digital agency. And in addition to a lot of the success that we've had from a paid perspective so far, we're constantly testing new channels. So we just turned on Reddit a couple months ago to test and learn into that platform. We turned on Pinterest, which we're really excited about. We think there could be an opportunity in audio advertising. So we're always working as a team to figure out where is the next horizon in order to test and learn and really acquire millions of new consumers into this brand.
How do you think about just because it sounds like really responding to kind of the heartbeat of culture, but also the heartbeat of important elements of culture. That's music, sports, and more. How do you sort of keep your finger on the pulse of that and respond fast enough to that? Because it's sort of easy to say like, oh, that's the trend now. I see it on TikTok. Harder for a lot of other brands and other CMOs who've been on this show to say like, we can respond fast enough to that to do something with it before it's run its course and it's too late. So how do you keep your finger on the heartbeat of culture and use those adjacent areas? And how do you move fast enough as marketers to sort of meet the moment before the moment is gone?
I have an incredible team that they are out and about in the world and they are living and breathing, urban culture, frankly. And so they bring ideas all the time. I think as a result of that, we have really great relationships in the industry, whether it's directly with record labels, whether it's talent agencies. And so I think because we have our ear to the ground, we are constantly being sort of kept abreast of new opportunities, sometimes that are brought to us first. That, here's a great example. We partnered with Moneybag Yo, put him as a face of a small men's collection. And he had such a great time on set. He absolutely loves this brand, loves the product, that he wanted to do an album release listening party. And we heard about that first. And we said, why don't you do it in our Cumberland, Atlanta store? And he said, that's a great idea. So we had him and his friends come into the store, did meet and greet with our customers, with some members of our loyalty program. We created a limited edition shirt for that night that featured his image on the back. So like I said, we are actually, I am incredibly thrilled that we're able to hear about these things first and jump on them if they feel brand right. I think the second piece is, leaning into these Team True folks that some have even said to me, I don't even want to be paid. I just want to be a part of what you guys are doing over there. And again, because they are so tied into culture, they have ideas on people that could be added to the roster that I haven't, and sometimes even the team haven't even thought of. So they are an incredible resource as well. And then I think the third, how are we able to move fast? You know, Michael has set up, our CEO has set up an incredible culture that he wants us to be able to move fast and be nimble and not have a ton of layers and bureaucracy. And so that's what we do, whether it's the marketing team, the marketing team in kind of concert with merchandising and design and our stores team or our e-com team. We are all, we're kind of all programmed and I think pre-wired and then given, frankly, the freedom to go and run here in ways that allows things to move quick. And I think also allows magic to happen. And that's what it sort of feels like we're in the middle of right now, which is great.
One final question I should ask you too is, what is your recommendation for other brands who are marketing to actually like students and in particular college students? And a lot of my other work, I actually help colleges reach more students, reach more underserved populations, and do a lot of work to kind of bolster these parts of higher education. I think a lot of those people I talk to would love to know, what does a brand like True Religion, what do you know about marketing to students, those in college, that we could glean maybe to make, for instance, these kind of colleges in San Francisco a bit stronger? What is your recommendation for marketing to students or the college market to do it effectively?
I think the first is talk to them. I moderated a panel, interestingly, a couple of months ago in New York, and it was on Gen Z, and it was called the Z Suite. And asking some of these college students, or even just very, very recent graduates, their thoughts on what's important to you as you think about brands and purchase decisions. And some of the things that came out, number one, most of them are really very, very planful. And particularly at a given price point, there's no spur of the moment shopping. So that's interesting, because then as a brand, it makes you think, how do you be thought of first then? And it's building that genuine, I think, unique connection and relationship with them over time. So that was one that they shared. Number two, they're all very, very concerned about debt. So at least on this panel, they said they are almost spending paycheck to paycheck so that they're not using credit cards to get in debt. Number three, they talked a lot, both the males and the females, about Pinterest and how it's back and how they're using it for inspiration. And then that's what they kind of take as they plan out their shopping purchases in the future. We talked about whether or not brands need to have a give back component. And the feeling there was, if they like the brand enough, then it doesn't matter. It is a nice to have. So that's interesting as we think about our philanthropic programs and when we decide to give back throughout the year and to whom. So my number one, piece of advice would be, talk to the audience that you're trying to go after, because there's just a lot that you can learn from them.
And oftentimes, when you talk to them, you realize that no one bothered to ask them until now. And actually, they're appreciative of that, saying, oh, thank you for asking. I didn't know you wanted my opinion. And they sometimes know exactly what you need to do to reach them. And they'll just tell you. It's like having, the cliff notes to the test. Yeah,
you're exactly right. You're exactly right.
All right. Well, Kristen, a true pleasure to chat with you. Kristen D'Arcy, Chief Marketing Officer at True Religion, and really interesting case of brand with a lot of brand equity, now in a digital first 360 holiday approach, and certainly leveraging a lot of influencers, leveraging culture at the speed of viral sharing. We can't wait to see what happens for True Religion next. We can't wait for your holiday campaign.
That's so nice. Thank you very much.